Welcome to Homeschool Companion, your source for information, motivation, and inspiration. If you're part of the homeschool community or simply interested in learning more about home-based education, stay tuned. Together we'll examine the latest resources, learning styles, and teaching techniques. We'll speak with experts in the field to help you uncover every homeschool advantage. We'll also present suggestions on how to keep Christ in the curriculum as we explore fresh ways to teach and learn. Here's your Homeschool Companion host, author, educator, and children's ministry specialist, Dr. Rose Gamblin.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. Today, our devotional is called The Wandering Albatross. It's from Windows on God's World by Dr. James A. Tucker. We've enjoyed it so much. And our scripture reading is Proverbs 26:2. As the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. The message of this saying really means that when we are doing the right thing, we don't have to worry about something or someone sneaking up on us and messing things up. According to sailors, a wandering albatross hovering over a ship indicates stormy weather ahead, and killing one brings a person bad luck. Since the albatross, whose name comes from the Portuguese word for pelican, which is alcatraz, relies on the wind to keep it airborne, the stormier the weather, the greater the number of birds in the skies. But certainly the albatross does not cause any misfortune as it looks for food churned up by the ship or thrown overboard. The wandering albatross has the largest wing spread of any flying creature. Its wings may measure as much as 12 feet from tip to tip. The bird rarely weighs more than 18 pounds, however, and weak flight muscles make flapping its wings difficult. It was once believed that the albatross never moved its wings as it soared gracefully over the seas, but it is known that it occasionally uses quick wing beats to aid its flight. If it tries to fly on a calm day, it flaps heavily. An albatross can travel tirelessly if the wind is right. One followed a fast-moving ship for 6 days. Another was banded and found 12 days later 3,150 miles away. Because the albatross cannot take off unless it is on the water or headed downhill, sailors thought that those they caught and kept on their decks were too stupid to escape. As a result, there are a number of unflattering names for the bird. One of these is Goony Bird. To add to their reputation as being somewhat goony, the albatross insists on swooping down on anything floating on the water, including the heads of men who have fallen overboard. There is a saying that comes from the poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which likens persistent bad luck to having an albatross hung around one's neck. But, as our text suggests, such superstition is groundless. As a bird often flies without purpose, so such superstitions have no foundation. I know many of us are in trials and tribulations, and I'm sure those who were martyred for their faith during the Reformation and currently in other countries probably feel like, God has turned their back on them. But as the text reminds us, God doesn't wish evil on anyone. It's just we are in an evil environment. We're in an enemy-occupied territory, and bad things are happening to good people. God is crying with us. His mercies, His tender mercies are there for us, and He's coming back soon. He wants us to know that we will soon be relieved from this pitiful, sinful situation. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as I think of families that are trying their best to homeschool children, families that are just facing financial problems, Please be with them, Lord. May you walk with them through their trials, just as you did with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That they will feel your comfort and you will be their God. Thank you so much. Be with this show, that our words will be your words. All this I pray in thy holy name. Amen. Ta-da! Arts and crafts. This is that time of the show that I really like emphasizing, because God created us in his image. Created is the operative word there. He is a creator God, and he created us in his image. So from the time we are able to sit up, manipulate things, we have this desire to create. And we're talking about the albatross today, the wandering albatross particularly. And I put on my Pinterest site, MR Gamblin 2 are my call letters. I put Albatross Facts for Kids, a video, and it specifically mentions the wandering albatross, though you can get lots of other good videos if you wish. And then I put a printable albatross craft on there. Again, there is enough material in one of these devotions that you could make it your whole week's integrated curriculum with Bible, science, and even history. So have fun learning. Curriculum Corner. And again, I'd like to remind you that we absolutely make no money. We have no affiliation with the people or the curriculum that we talk about. This is just information that you might like to know. And what I'm going to talk about is CTC Math. It's a full curriculum which teaches with online video tutorials. It costs something, but the cool thing is it's not aligned for Common Core. For those of you who know a little bit about Common Core, from my opinion, kind of has watered down what children should be able to do. They've tried to find the middle path, the common path. So it's nice if it's not aligned. It means it's a little more rigorous. Some of the things that I like, as I've looked at, is and I work with other math programs that have video tutorials on the high school level. The cool thing is, the student can rewind the video, as many times as they need to get the idea. Also, the video teacher never gets upset or short-tempered. So those are really good things when you're looking for an online math. I would recommend something like CTC Math, which I don't know what CTC stands for. I know it's out of Australia, and I know the videos are very short, it's really good for how a child's mind works. The drawback might be that these short videos might not help the child connect to the bigger picture. You might need to do that, or you might need to look for something in Khan Academy or something like that helps connect it all. Anyway, CTC Math is what we have looked at today in our Curriculum Corner. Questions parents ask. Well, I could have almost asked this question in the Curriculum Corner. Chris is saying that her son's 16. He's taking easy peasy, and he can't remember what he's done from day to day. This is one of the drawbacks of easy peasy, is you really need to take it along with your child and have a process where they take a picture of what they've done, or they show you when they're actually doing it. One of the things that I have done is I've set up a classroom for easy peasy. I'm teaching easy peasy to 2 high school students earth science, and it's really cool. I can take it right along with them in my own little classroom, and I can cut and paste the activities. So I just have to stay a little bit ahead of them, and I can cut and paste and put them into my Google Classroom. And you can do a free Google Classroom It's there for the doing. Once you get the hang of it, I can also take like their worksheets and cut and paste it into a Google Docs, and then they can type in the answer. So I try to pick at least 1 or 2 activities a week that they put in, that they have to do in the Google Docs. That way, if I miss something, I have an assignment there. Or if they didn't upload the picture, I have a way that I can say, well, then you have to do this. So whatever you do as you're working through your homeschooling, take courage. God is with you, and your children are learning. He might not remember something, but a lot of 16-year-olds are growing fast, and that part of their brain separates. And so be patient with your 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 14, 15, 16. Those are such tender ages. It's so easy to get all bent out of shape because what they knew before, they don't know now. So take my advice for whatever it's worth. We're going to be in the second segment of the show having an interview with Pastor Don Shenk, and he is from Tide Global Gospel Ministry. I had the privilege just a few weeks ago. I went with my little school and with his organization to the Museum of the Bible, and I got to know him. You're going to love this man. Well, we'll be right back.
You have been listening to Homeschool Companion, a production of MRG Media. Be sure to join us on Facebook. Just type in the name Homeschool Companion. For more on this or to contact us, go to mrgmediaministries.com. That's all one word, mrgmediaministries.com.
Welcome, welcome. I'm here with Don Shenk, and he is the director of the Tide Global Gospel Ministry. You have such a wonderful legacy. Maybe start from the beginning, how you got into this ministry. You can go and learn more while you're listening to thetide.org. That's the website, thetide.org. So, Don, take it away.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and share. I was born in Zimbabwe, Africa. It was Rhodesia when I was born there. So we're going to take the long way the long way around to get there. I grew up as a missionary child, and my parents were missionaries. They were there in Africa up until basically my mother just came home in February of this year.
Wow.
But interestingly enough, my very first real exposure to radio was as a child. My parents living out in a fairly remote mission station. My first 2 years of school, my mother taught me with the assistance of School on the Air.
Oh, okay.
I had to sit and listen to the radio. And my mother to this day tells me that it was the hardest thing to get me to pay attention to that voice coming out of the box when there were birds in the trees I wanted to look at and all those things. But through my life growing up there, I did have a background in faith, but it wasn't really until my late teens that it became very real to me, and I really felt a connection, a true connection with God, and an experience, a conversion experience. Even though I wasn't being converted, I would have said I was a Christian growing up,
yes.
But then I became a true believer. And I went to college at Messiah. It's Messiah University in central Pennsylvania. After graduating, my wife and I served in missions for 12 years and felt that God was calling us at the end of that 12 years. I was really wrestling because I loved what I was doing. And I thought, I really got to be all in. This should be my career. But the sense that God was saying, I have something different for you. I have something, I'm done with you here. And what is it? And when I came back, I thought maybe a lot of people were saying, we need pastors here in the U.S. You should pastor a church. And I did. I interviewed and applied, and nothing seemed to be working out. Nothing seemed to be a fit. And then somebody I'd roomed with at boarding school, because after school on the air, and I was sent away to boarding school, somebody I'd roomed with was actually speaking on a radio program. And he said, you know, our director is retiring. What are you doing? You know, it might be something you'd be interested in. And I looked into it, and I said, I have no desire to be a radio personality, but I do have a desire to share the gospel around the world. And that opened the door, and here I am, 20 years later. I've been serving with the Gospel Tide Ministry for 20 years. And it is a joy to be part of a ministry that is sharing the gospel around the world. I can still be a missionary, and people can be missionaries with me through supporting the Tide and sharing the gospel with people around the world, where as our ministry, we have basically the guiding principles we go by are we want to be going where there is an incredible need for the gospel. We also want to be sharing the gospel with people in the language they were born to speak, and not just taking a North American presentation of the gospel and translating it, but actually working with partners on the ground and helping them to put together a program that can be broadcast where we have an indigenous person, a man or a woman, whose heart has been impacted by the gospel, and they share it on air with their own people. So it's a very culturally relevant presentation of the gospel, and so impactful because people realize here is not a foreign God that I have to learn another language to communicate with, but a God who speaks my language, understands the situation I'm in, and loves me where I am. So it's just so rewarding to see the lives that get changed in that.
You know, I'm also a daughter of missionaries, and was homeschooled and have a heart for just getting the good news out, really, getting the good news out. So when you talk about the Tide Global Ministry, it does give an opportunity for a person here in North America. We do not realize how wealthy and how good we have it. You need to go over there and see. And then the persecution, you talk some in your bio about persecution. How do you get into those countries that are really against Christians?
It is amazing the way God opens doors. I can go back and I can look through like the reports I've given to our board of directors, and we've often made plans and set our sights on certain areas. For example, we have a ministry going on in the San language in Thailand, and we have a lot going on in India. And at one point we thought, let's try to bridge the Bay of Bengal and go into places like Myanmar and some of those countries where there's a need for gospel. We knew there's a need there, and we thought, okay, we've got work at both ends. We can work in on that. And you know what God did? God connected us with somebody in Pakistan. And it wasn't something that we had planned on. We weren't even looking in that direction. But God tapped me on the shoulder, and a pastor who had been invited to speak there knew that I had international experience, and he wanted somebody to travel with him. And so he invited me to go along to this conference. And while I'm there, I traveled to another nearby city by bus and visited a radio ministry that was getting started there and made a connection. And so here we are now today, broadcasting in 2 languages in Pakistan, which is, if you look at the history of the region, all of that whole area used to be British India.
Yes.
And they split it up into India, which another name for India is Hindustan, which some people don't know. But Hindustan means the place of Hindus. And when Britain kind of gave or set that area up, broke it down into countries, they said, okay, here's where mostly the Hindus are, so that'll be called India. Over here and over here, they're Muslims. That's going to be Pakistan. So there was East and West Pakistan, and now there's Pakistan and Bangladesh. But it was all divided on religious lines. And so it helps you understand a little bit why there's so much religious political tension there. Because they feel this was given to us as our land for Muslims. What are you believers coming in? Why? Because the Christians weren't given any land. It was all divided between Muslims and Hindus. But that opportunity now is there, and people they're searching for truth. And even in a place like Pakistan, where so many people are very zealously Muslim, they can't deny the truth of the gospel when they hear it, and to see the lives that are being changed and impacted through that.
And radio has been available longer. I mean, this is a question. Has it been available longer, let's say, than, or is it still more accessible than technology as we know it today with the internet and video and that kind of thing?
Radio is still the foundation in so much of the world. And we're talking about Pakistan, so let me stay there for a little bit. We'll stay in there for a little bit and say, in Pakistan we do some of the programming. We put that on social media. We get on YouTube videos, so there's music videos that go along with the programming that we do. And in other countries, we use social media apps, like there's something called WhatsApp that perhaps you're familiar with. You can send out audio files and people share it. There's all these additional means of getting the gospel out. But radio is still the most broadly accessible, because almost everything else that I've mentioned there needs internet access. Not everybody has that. But it doesn't matter the most remote village you can go to, if somebody can have a radio there and have, even if they're using batteries.
Solar-powered radios.
Or solar-powered radios. There's something. Radio still reaches the broadest portion of the population. And, I've talked about India sometimes, where in India you have incredible technological development and a high level of technology in some areas. But then you got into villages where there's some people that don't even own a radio. And so that's another thing that we do. We have projects to send radios out, and we'll give them to somebody. We train a village worker to take that radio, and they'll go into a village, and it's like entertainment for people.
Yeah.
And they'll gladly, he says, hey, come listen to the radio with me. And of course, where he's going to tune it. And we do also provide pre-recorded messages, so that if the program isn't on air at that time, he can stick a cassette in and play that. And then they're trained to actually lead a discussion afterwards. Say, okay, what do you think about what you heard? Or if people have questions. And it's just another way of helping to share the gospel. And throughout India, we have had numerous churches planted that started out as a listening club, sitting around the radio and get a few converts from that.
Well, we have to draw this part one of the show to a close. Thank you so much, Don Shenk of the Tidal Global Gospel Ministry. And you can learn more by going to thetide.org. And I hope you come back tomorrow for part 2, where we get a little bit more into the nuts and bolts of how you can help with this wonderful ministry. Thank you for being with us, staying with us. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I have one last thing to say, and that is God bless.
You have been listening to Homeschool Companion, a production of MRG Media. Be sure to join us on Facebook. Just type in the name Homeschool Companion. For more on this or to contact us, go to mrgmediaministries.com. That's all one word, mrgmediaministries.com.